Welcome to the stream. Today we're going to work on our research tree, and we shall begin by showing you what the tree is basically made up from. So first of all, we have research categories, an enum, which is minor and fine. Now I'm not actually using this at the moment, but it may come in handy later or may become useful. So what we really are interested in are the struct, which makes up each of the research items, which has row number, name, image, text, category, the research required, which is i.e. dependencies. If one research item requires another to have been done or more. The row in the widget, the column in the widget, and whether or not this has been completed. Now, the second thing is a data table of those structures, which gives us all of our information from the column, row, whether it's completed or not. This will eventually get moved into an actual variable when we save it, because these are obviously going to be updated on the fly as we're actually playing the game. And finally, we have our three widgets. We have our research tree, which looks like this. So we basically have a canvas panel and then our large canvas panel, which is going to move around. Okay? Then we have a couple of buttons here which pad out rows that aren't used. That's the way I'm doing it at the moment. It might not stay like that, but we shall leave it at that for now. And finally, the actual research button, which is basically whether it's complete, is a little bar there with a colour, the actual image, then what the name of the research is, and then something that I'm going to use in a minute, which is going to be our status. So that's going to be whether it's been researched, whether it is being researched, or is available for research, or if it's unavailable. So from yesterday, we were having a problem in our research button. And the reason for that was that this has changed a bit. The reason for that was we were changing the image research before, or sorry, we had the image complete, and we were actually changing the image complete instead of the image research, the research image. And that was causing us a problem. So now what we're doing is we're filling the widget, or let's look at this from the research tree and we'll go through this, okay? So when the research tree first runs, it basically says build the grid. We go to our data table, then we get a list of rows, and for each of these items we basically fill in the information. Or for each one, what we do is we create a widget, we tell the widget to fill itself, and we need to actually add that while we're there. And then we finally add the child to the grid at the row and column from the data table. Then we move into the research button, which is fill the widget. So basically what that does is it adds a couple of what's what I'm looking for, adds a couple of variables, then it sets up the brush for the widget, etc. So what we're actually going to work on here is return button style. Now at the moment return button style passes us back a colour of we're using it in the background of the actual widget. So if I demonstrate that, what we've got here is these are red and the rest are green. Okay, now we are going to add spacing and such at a later date, or we could do it, there's an easy way to do it, but I'm not sure that that is going to be the final way. But we can actually add it here if we like. So if I add a 30 and a 30 for the padding top, right and bottom, you will notice that when we draw our research tree, we should have had padding there, but apparently we don't. Okay, let's try that one more time. If it doesn't work this time, we're not going to dwell on it too much. Oh, it is actually doing it, if you notice. But this is because we are adding to the background rather than changing the colour of this particular bar. So what we'll do is we shall fix both while we're doing this. Okay, so if we go back to here, we shall actually, we should go to our event graph, and this is, we shall just check it's the image complete. Okay, and you'll notice that I'm not setting it anywhere here. So what we shall actually do is we'll drag this in here and we can actually set it there. We may need to make one further change. That's if I can spell properly. And that's because that's a button. So what we'll do is we'll set the brush. We'll rename this while we're at it, but we'll delete that. And we shall check what this actually is. So we're going to make a slate brush. Okay, so this isn't going to be a style anymore. So basically we need to make a couple of changes to this. So we're not going to output a button style. It's actually going to be a brush, slate brush. Okay. and our temporary local variable is going to be a slate brush as well. There we go. And we shall change the name of this to temp slate brush. And we'll probably need to delete these, but this is going to go in here. And we're going to make a slate brush. And this is now fine. This is going to change, but in the meantime what we'll do is we'll delete that and we shall go into here. We shall save that. Okay, temp button style. Okay. So we delete those and we set this. Duplicate that and reset it up. So now we should be able to okay, it doesn't like that either for some reason. We shall check on that. We have an in brush which isn't set, so that's coming from there. Refresh that, and there we go. So what we need to do now, check this out. We have our red and our greens. Excellent. And what we could do here is in our designer, in the text, we could change this to white. If indeed that's what we want to do. So I've changed this okay. So now we should be able to see our different mining. So there we go. And actually, the further change we made to this was the fact that you can actually scroll it and zoom it out and zoom in. Now I haven't clamped that yet to give us a, so it's always centered sort of thing, but it's better to get it working first before we make any small little changes. So if we go back to our graph and we actually change our function name, because it's not really return button style, it's really return status. Now what we're going to do here is, so if it's true, it's complete and we don't need to do any more. If it's incomplete, then we need to check its dependencies, and if a dependency has been done, then we'll change the colour to orange or something, and if the dependency hasn't been done plus it's incomplete, it will stay red. Or sorry, if it's complete, it's green. Sorry, if it's complete, it's red. Okay? So let's have a look at this. If we are correct, all of these should be green, which they are. Now, what you'd have is that this is done, this is not done. This is not done, or sorry, this is not done, but it should be available to do. This should not be available. Okay? So what we want basically is this will stop it. This is going to change and it's going to be set later on. So we're going to go in here, and actually it's not going to go directly in there because we need to actually get the dependencies and then actually check the tree. So the other thing here is we've got another variable called dependencies met. Now this is going to keep track of whether we have actually as we loop round them in the first instance, we're going to set it to true, and if any of them fail then or are false, then we're going to set it to false. So we set our dependencies met to true, and we shall tidy this up a little bit. While we're at it. And the next thing we're going to do is get data table row, and it's going to be index well actually let's just pull it from here. And we're going to have to change it to a string first. So that's going to go like that. We're going to get our asset is going to be the research items. Actually, you know what? This actually does go in here. So we should just give ourselves a bit more space. So we're going to get this. And this is actually going to go in here. So that's going to be, actually, you know what we'll do? We'll do this a bit more. We'll just use the nodes that were already there. Okay. So we get the data table, and then we break that out. And then we can basically set this. We set this. Actually, no, we can't set it. We have to check this first. Okay. So we probably want a branch here. And we probably want that there. And this is going to come off dependencies. Actually, we don't need that. What we need to do is we need to say if it equals false, set that to false. Okay. If it's false, we set it to false. And when we complete, I'll just put a rewrite node in here for now. When we complete, we can branch again here. Then we can branch off this. We shall probably actually just go straight down out the way here. I'm not too sure if we're going to actually use this return node or so if we go down here, we can basically do this. We can copy and paste that. So if the dependencies are met, we want it to be like, let's say an orange, right? For now. We want it a bit more red though. That'll do it. Okay, and if it's not, well, we can leave out green. Okay. So we basically do the same as this. And if it's true, so if the dependencies are met, we can go with that. And if they're not met, now we can change these colours around pretty simply. Once we've done the logic here, we can basically go with this. Okay. Then this part here, we can delete that. And we can either join these up and put a reroute node, or we can actually just do a return. It's probably just easier to do a return. So if we save that, we could actually basically make this out and then drop that in. That would be a way to do it, but we should now have 3 colours on our research tree. And there we go. So red means it's done, green means it can be done, and orange means that we can't. So the red should stay. The red means it's done. Okay, let's change the red to black. Okay. So the black means it has been complete. Green means that you can do it, and red means that you can't do it. So in effect, the only buttons here that we want to actually have active are the ones that are green. Okay? So as a... Okay, so let's click on, let's update smelting 2 to make it complete. Or let's make fabricating 2 and fabricating 3, right? So if we go to our research item, and I can't remember what one we're doing there, but anyway. So if we say that's complete, and if we say that's complete, then if we say that's complete, okay, now we should be able to there you see the 3 are complete and we can go. So there we have it. Now that is working. And you'll notice we have our spacing now. And that works quite well. So the next thing to do is, if we go back to our button and in our variables we want is active, okay, and it is going to be a boolean, and the only time the button will be active is when it's green. Okay. So we can follow that logic here. We set it to true. We're going to move this across a bit. Then basically what's going to happen now is in the designer, or sorry, in the graph, in our event graph, when we have a button and on clicked, we are going to say if it's active or inactive. We could do this two ways actually. We could do this by setting the button to do nothing, or sorry, we could set the button to be inactive, but the easier way to do it at the moment would be just to say if it's active we can branch on that and this means that we're set up to go, because only the green buttons will actually do anything if you click on it. Okay, so let's demonstrate that. Let's actually demonstrate that. Now we have our text. Well, we can actually, we're not setting this to a variable, I don't think. No. Doesn't really matter, we can get the text back from here anyway. So what we can basically say is we can drag this in, get that, then we can get the text. Then we can do a print string on that. Then quick append. Drag us down here out the way, drag that out the way. Okay, change this to, let's say 20 seconds. Can you drag this across out the way a bit? then drag both of these down a bit, then we shall append and say we want to research and then we basically plug this in here and then this goes in here. So if this is working correctly, the only ones that will actually print something are the green ones. So if I click on that, nothing. If I click on this, nothing. If I click on this, nothing. Excellent. So we shall add a breakpoint and see if we're actually getting any clicks on the button. So we're not getting any clicks on the button. So either our, go back to designer, apparently not hit testable. That would be self only. So let's try this again. And you'll notice now we're getting our button. It's dragging. We need to set up the backgrounds, but anyway, so you'll notice that this will now break. And disable that. So we shall continue. So we need to set up the backgrounds here to be nothing and when hovered. So that will give us nothing. That will give us nothing. But that gives us we want to research. We want to research that. We can't research that. We can't research that. But we can research that. So perfect. So in effect, what we want to do here is for the button research, when we go and do when we do this, sorry, where's the button research? Now in here we actually want to set the button. Now we might want to do this in the designer. So that when we are hovering, it's exactly the same. Okay, so let's have a look. Much better. And we want to research that, we want to research that, we want to research that, and that. And you'll notice that we can't do those. So, I think we'll conclude at that. That is a good bit of progression. Again, we'll have a quick look at the graphs. basically what we did was check whether the thing was complete. If it is complete, we set the colour to black. If it isn't complete, we check dependencies. If the dependencies are passed back true, then we set it to green. If the dependencies are sent back as false, then in this case we can actually return it to red. And there we go. Now, if I want to make design changes to this, it's going to be fairly simple. All I need to design and then either change these. I've got these three routes through this particular tree that give me the three different options, whether it's available or not, or whether it's complete or not. So any changes made, I'll just place code in here and in here. And with that, it's been a short stream, but we've basically covered doing the research tree. Maybe later we'll do another one of the dragon and clamping and stuff. But thank you for watching, and if you want to support the channel or whatever, just check the description, and